All right, everyone. Welcome to VETSOCIal Voices. And I am your host, and I have some amazing people here. I have my co-host. First time, actually, I'm bringing a co-host on just because he's a dynamic person from the Veteran Coaching Network. I'm going to have him coming on stage to help me really grapple with Sergeant Q, who is, I'm not going to talk about him a whole lot right now. I don't want to steal his thunder. I'm going to bring him on. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself. I'm going to try to figure out why is this crazy kid here to talk to us today. Apparently a Marine. I actually thought he was in the Army. So, for what that means, they like to eat crayons. No, it's going to be a real serious conversation. As you know, we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, nonprofits, and just the veteran community. As you know, the veteran community, it's really three pillars that this thing's founded on. It's founded on collaboration, which Sergeant Q, Luke, and I are about to collaborate on this podcast. It's about communication. We're communicating out to you. And I think the last one is the most important because I think most of us warriors have this, our former old warriors. I've got arthritis from my neck to my toe, but I think grit is really rounds the veteran community out and really talks about who we are at the core. So we're going to have him on. I do have a few things to just say before I fire this up. Veteran Social Summit is coming. It's coming. We are 3 weeks out from the recording of this, which is August 23rd. Just to give you 2025, if you're listening this 3 years from now randomly, guess what? You missed it. But you can still go to event.veteransocialsummit.com and register. Register for Vet Social 25, which is on 12 and 13 September, virtually everywhere. We have 70 plus speakers from the veteran community. I mean, some of these people are they're superstars. Actually, I think they all are, and they're going to drop nuclear value on you. And the theme of this year is Pathways to Veteranpreneurship. But in reality, it's just pathways to the veteran community, because we've got people like Stephanie Brown, who is the founder of the Rosie Network, who's just doing tremendous things. We've got Lauren Hope from Recurrent and the Military Influencer Conference, and just so many other dynamic people. So with that being said, let me stop talking about other people and bring on the people that we need to be talking about. And that is Sergeant Q. And we have our co-host who's also, as he puts in his thing there, he's the 2025 Indiana Veteran of the Year by Military Friendly. So I'm being a little snarky, but Luke, we know we love you. And Sergeant Q, we are excited to have you here. I know on my side, I've been fumbling the ball to get you here. So we finally got you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, our schedules just don't align. I'm super busy. I travel and speak and teach a couple times a month, sometimes here in Conus and a lot overseas as well. So I'm glad to be here. I'm actually in my home studio, which is nice.
I actually thought it was my fault. I'll take ownership of it. But on that, why in the heck are you here, Sergeant Q? What's your story, man? Why am I talking to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. A couple of years ago, I would have never imagined myself doing this at all, but I've been building a business for years and just quietly building it, and I didn't really know how successful it was. Like, I knew it was working. We had about 150 employees and we'd been in business for like 15 years. We were doing really well, but I started teaching the same mental health stuff that I'd been teaching to veterans to my employees. And that really helped me grow and scale my business. And I wanted to get that word out. So my wife applied me to this reality TV show called the Blox. It's a competition for entrepreneurs. They put 100 entrepreneurs into this live-in movie set, and you're competing every single day, sometimes twice a day, through these different entrepreneurial challenges to see who has the best business on the blocks. It's a $10,000 prize, and you're competing with some of the best businesses in the country. It's pretty incredible. And it's any kind of business. Like, I have a janitorial business, but some of them are technology, some of them are finance, and you compete. Well, I end up winning season 7, and then they invite me back and I win season 9. And then they invite me back to be a coach and judge for the show. And so as God would have it, I have been able to get this message of mental health into the business community. And it's been incredible. It's the same stuff I've been teaching for the last decade to veterans. I've just repackaged it to help employers be able to grow sustainable, scalable businesses with investments in mental health. I've won multiple awards from the Department of Veterans Affairs for this work. I was named Seattle's Hometown Hero. I received the Seattle Seahawks Salute to Service Award. And then last year, they presented me with the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for my work in the mental health space. So I just take all of those things and I apply it to business principles. And I've grown my company to be in the top 2% of small businesses in America.
Wow. That's a lot for me to process. You're doing some amazing, you're doing some amazing things, Luke. I mean,
he's a beacon.
What do you got? I'm speechless right now. I mean,
he's a beacon. I mean, he's an example.
You really are.
I tell people I'm probably the most successful entrepreneur that you've never heard of.
Wow. You're humble. You're a humble entrepreneur, humble military humble alpha. Wow. That is amazing.
I've just been building my business slowly and investing in my people. And when people ask me after I won the Blox twice, now they want me to be a coach. Everybody wants to know, how did you do it? Because when I started my journey, I was a homeless, disabled veteran. So I'm disabled for PTSD from my time in the Marine Corps, serving with Anglico, and then doing a tour over in Iraq. When I came back, I really struggled with mental health. I could get a job, but I couldn't keep it for very long because my mental health was just unraveling. And then I walked in on a home invasion robbery in December, December 22nd of 2007. I walk in on a home invasion robbery and a gunfight ensues. And so that just, I survived, the assailant didn't. And it just put me on this downward spiral. And within just 6 months, I lost my girlfriend. I lost my home. I lost my job. I'm living in my car in Auburn, Washington. I'm like, what? I'm just done. I'm dealing with PTSD. I can't sleep. I'm having nightmares, no control over my mental health. And I was ready to check out. I was ready to end my life. And I remember driving around. I found this big parking lot. And I was just like, I'm done. It was the 4th of July. And I pulled in and I was ready to end my life. And I rolled down the window just to feel the breeze on my face. And I could hear these kids playing nearby. I couldn't see them, but I could hear them. And so I thought, I'm just going to wait. I want to wait until these kids take off because I don't want them to have to find me. And so I just waited and waited and waited. And then the next thing I remember is waking up. I'd fallen asleep in the car. When I woke up, those suicidal ideations were gone. But I was shook, man. I was like, okay, something is wrong. I need help. I can't get help at the VA because I didn't have I didn't have a diagnosis at that time. I didn't have a rating. So back then, I had to pay out of pocket to go see somebody at the VA. And people don't believe me, but that's how it was. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to pay out of pocket. Well, they ended up taking my income tax return that year when I was struggling with mental health, which was part of the reason I became homeless because I didn't have that return that I was looking for. And so I was just at the end of my rope and was going to just totally end my life. A couple of days after that experience, I'm digging through these medical journals, trying to understand how the brain operates. Like, this thing is broken, but I should be able to fix it. In the military, I was a close combat instructor. It's one of my jobs. So they say one mind, any weapon. So if my mind is a weapon, if it's malfunctioning, I got to tap, rack, bang, and get back in the fight. How do I do that? And so I just started reading and researching. A couple of days after that, I got invited to go to church. And I was like, it's not my thing. I didn't grow up in the church. Thanks, but no thanks. But I went, man, and I drove to the address they gave me. And this was before GPS was a mainstay. I was using an old Thomas guide, which is, for you younger folks, it's like a book of maps. And I drove to the address they gave me, and I literally drove right back into that same parking lot that I was in a few days before, where I'd almost ended my life. It was the parking lot of a private school, and a small little church called New Life Church met in the gymnasium. And so I went in and I listened to Pastor talk, and he's talking about feeling lost and alone, and all who are heavy burdened to come lay their burdens on Jesus. And they would be saved. And I thought, well, shoot, that's what I need. And so I did it. I said the prayer, I went up forward, but nothing changed for me. I was like, well, maybe I did it wrong. I don't know. One of the pastors invited me to a small group study. So now I'm reading the Bible and I'm studying these medical journals, and I'm finding that these things are saying the same thing, that this ancient text from thousands of years ago is being proven by modern science. So I built a little battle plan just for myself to overcome trauma. And I did that for over a decade and built my business. And then God called me to help veterans, which led into the nonprofit. And now I was going to retire 6 years ago when I turned 40. I made it, man. But God asked me to take this information to the business world. So that's what I've been doing for the last several years, is bringing this training and technology, because I built an app that prevents suicide. It showed a 90% reduction in readmittance to the emergency room for suicidal ideations. I built that thing out. And Stanford, I went to a Stanford program and ended up being named one of the top 100 Hispanic founders to watch in America. And that was a couple
I'm a little bit curious about the app. That's the Q actual app. Can you, is that's what it's called, right? Tell us a little bit more about that and the capability of it, because I think that's definitely a resource that I feel a lot of veterans that are listening to this and well beyond this could actually utilize, because I think a lot of what you're saying is, the transition from being in the military to crossing over that obstacle to the civilian side it's a tough journey for a lot of us, as you talked about. And so first off, having the mindset shift, that's one element of it, but that's not just you say, hey, tomorrow I'm going to feel good. You need to have mentors and coaches. And I think that's one thing that you're out there doing and supporting for the veteran community. And I think your app is part of that, answers to the test. So if you could just go into a little bit about the app.
Yeah, the app, it was an idea. I really can't take credit for it. I remember one of my guys was struggling with suicidal ideations, and his wife called me and she told me where he was and where the house was. And so I called a team of veterans that I knew, and we literally did a grid by grid search. And I'm coordinating this from Mexico because I'm down there working on a project, and I'm coordinating this search for him in the middle of the night. And they end up finding him on an overpass. They get him in the truck, they take him to the VA, we get him into some help. And I thought, at this time, my program's working, and I'm receiving all kinds of awards for it. But how do I help somebody who's in crisis? So I just prayed about it. And the next morning I woke up with this vision in my head, and I sketched it in a notebook. And that became the blueprint for the app that we built. The app is based on the squad mentality. So it's based on the idea from scripture, where it says that woe to the man who is alone when he falls, for there's no one there to pick him up. And that's where the scripture verse comes from. But in the military, they did a study. The Army actually studied the Marines and wanted to know why we were so successful. It's because we fight in small little units. We call them fire teams. And it's this squad mentality. And the reason we're so successful on the battlefield is because we fight in those small squads, because every member of the squad values himself, or values the squad over themselves. So they fight harder and longer to stay alive because they don't want to let the squad down. And every member of the squad knows if they get injured or pinned down that the squad is coming for them, because we're never going to leave a man behind. And it's that hope of rescue that keeps people fighting longer than anyone thought possible to stay alive. Because according to Johns Hopkins University, hope is the number one catalyst for survival. So how do I take that concept and build it into an app? Well, it's based on the squad mentality. So you download it and you select 3 of your friends that you know and trust. It can't be any more than that, because then people kind of check out. So it's 2 to 3 people that you know and trust. And it works just like a chat app at the base form, where you just chat back and forth with each other, send funny memes. It's great. Now, every day you do a wellness check. It's 4 questions, takes about 10 seconds. That tracks your data, and then it reflects it back in a color code of how you feel. And so now I do my wellness check, and as soon as it's done, then I can see my rest of my squad. And if I see one of my guys who is elevated, they're in orange or red, I can reach out before they get into crisis and not have to wait for a crisis to happen before we respond. That was the problem. We've never been able to be proactive to a mental health crisis, and now we can. The second part is that if somebody is in crisis, part of their cognitive thought process is reduced. So there's a lot of discussion like, why do people actually end their life? There's a lot of reasons why people think about it, but there's actually only one reason why they do it. And it's because their brain is malfunctioning. They have reduced cognitive function, which means they lose long-term planning, good decision-making skills, and the ability to overcome impulses. We know by speaking to thousands of suicide attempt survivors that it was an impulse. They had the thought in their head, an intrusive thought, and they acted on it, not because they wanted to die, but because they couldn't process through that moment in time. They saw no other option available. And I know exactly how that feels. And so we can hijack the brain, the limbic system, and overcome that. Because in the app, when they have reduced cognitive functioning, they don't know who to call or what to say. They don't know how to ask for help because that part of the brain is malfunctioning. Now all they have to do is push one button on their phone, and it automatically sends an alert out to those 3 people in their squad that they're in distress. It pops up like an Amber Alert on their phone, and they can select it and takes them right into that chat, and they're chatting with that individual in distress. But something else happens. If you're the individual who initiates the signal, it starts a cognitive reconditioning program, better known as a grounding technique, which helps you regain that cognitive thought process and make good decisions as you're waiting for your squad to answer up. Now, let's say the person who initiates the signal, they don't answer up, or they're saying some things that are concerning. I'm on a ton of veteran groups, and I see somebody post a goodbye message, and then everybody's scrambling to find out, where are they? Do they know their parents? Where do they live? Where do they work? And it's this mad dash to try and find this individual. Well, we eliminated that because as soon as you press that button, it automatically turns on your GPS locator, and now your friends can navigate directly to your location, or they can dispatch emergency services. Because if there has been an attempt, those moments really, really matter. That's the app. That's in base form. That's how it works. There's a ton of other data points that we collect, and it can actually connect to your mental health service provider if you want. There's a dashboard for them so they can track your data over time. And the app works, but only if you use it. And so here's part of the problem is that people use it when they're struggling, but when they feel better, they stop using it, and then they start to struggle again. And that's where I had to start initiating the training part. So I work with the Cherokee and the Choctaw. They've been using this technology for years. And what we realized is that the app is great, but we really need training. So now I go out twice a year and I train with their veterans. I'll be leaving next week to go and train with the Cherokee, where I'm the keynote speaker, and then I'm putting on a workshop about the brain-body connection so I can educate people and they're more apt to use the tech.
That's amazing.
So that's it in a nutshell.
That is a journey.
Luke, I thought I was bad, but Sergeant Q is a true successful serial entrepreneur.
You're doing. He has taken on a huge mission that is just near and dear, and it's just so amazing. I mean, you think about it, like you're literally trying to act as the wave. I mean, you're raising the boats. I mean, it's just amazing what you're doing. And sitting here, just listening to your story about how you're taking care of literally tens of thousands of veterans in the tribe, just through leveraging that technology is just amazing. And you connect with them. I mean, you've been through it. And as us veterans, as many have TBI and PTSD, and listen to your story resonates not only with me, but I'm sure with our viewers of how many folks now know and can learn today about this application that you're sharing. It's just amazing. I did not know about it before, but now I will share it. I mean, it's just amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. I have so many questions. I'm throwing them out because this is so important.
I know. And I would say also, if you're listening to this, if you're interested to learn more, go to qactual.com. Qactual, that's correct, right? Sergeant Q. I hope I'm not messing this up. So qactual.com, qactual.com, and learn a little bit more about this because it is an amazing app. So check it out.
Hey, Ryan, I think we should say about Sergeant Q here is not only did he go through the ideation process, not only was he going down a dark a dark journey, not only where, many folks would have or could have broken, he stood fast and he weathered the storm. And then
now he's a pathfinder.
Yes, now he's a pathfinder. It's just amazing. Soren Q, speaks your testament of integrity, grit, to all veterans, that they can be like you. You're an example. Thank you for sharing.
So let's switch a little bit. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about the other things, because you have a lot of, you're a speaker, you're doing this app, and you have you have I think you said a janitor business as well. You have all these different businesses. Just tell us a little bit more about the other things, the other dynamic things that you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm homeless in my car, and I'm struggling with suicidal ideations, and I'm sleeping in my car in Auburn, Washington, on Main Street, because Main Street was pretty safe back in the day. Not so much now, but it used to be. And so I'd sleep in my car, kind of in well-lit areas where I felt a little bit safer. And there was this, I had a friend who worked in the janitorial world. Now, he wouldn't hire me because I wasn't very reliable myself. So I started my own company, Reliable Commercial Cleaning. And a lot of people would subcontract me work, where I wasn't working directly for them, but I was a subcontractor. And so I did that for many, many years as a subcontractor. And then I started picking up my own accounts, and I ended up growing it from me and one other guy scrubbing toilets in the middle of the night to having over 150 employees and doing almost $8 million a year. We're in the top 2% of small businesses in America. Our goal now is to get us to 10 million, which will put us in the top 1% of small businesses. And so that's one of the goals that I strive for. And how I do that is by investing in my people. Now, all of you out there who want to build businesses and grow, here's the thing. If you want your business to grow, you have to grow first. You cannot expect your people to do something that you're not willing to do. And so for me, when I started my company, I'm scrubbing toilets in the middle of the night. That's what I'm doing. And I thought, like, how did I go from being a top tier operator in the Marine Corps with Anglico, calling for fire, doing all this high speed, cool stuff, to being homeless and scrubbing toilets? But I was just like, I got to do what I got to do. And I learned a lot in those years. And now my employees have a ton of respect for me because I know how to do every single job in the company. And I'm far removed from daily operations, but I don't have any problem jumping in and helping to get something done if it needs to happen. But what I've done in my company is, by investing in the mental resilience of my team, I've been able to build high-performing, mentally resilient teams by investing in their wellness, teaching them the same thing I've been teaching to veterans for years. Now, the turnover rate in America is 41%. And the number one reason why people quit their job is toxic work environment. It's not that they hate their job, it's that they don't like the people that they're working for. Now, each year, 21% of small businesses fail in the first year. And by year 10, that hits 65%. In Washington, it's far worse. We're ranked 50th. We're dead last. And our failure rate is 76% for small businesses to fail in 10 years. But I've been able to create 4 incredibly successful businesses, and I'm working on 2 consecutive startups right now. So I have 6 businesses total. 4 are wildly successful and 2 are startups. And it's because I invest in my people. I do 3 things. I educate them, I empower them, and I encourage them. And they're the ones who actually grow my business. I cast vision. I do those 3 things as a leader, and they're the ones who really innovate and build the companies that we've created.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I was on mute there for a second, but I was saying, wow, the value that you're dropping right now, it's mind blowing. So just amazing. How do you? Part of it has to be mindset, in my opinion. But how do you manage 6? What I call projects, but for you, 6 companies? How are you managing that personally?
I build mentally resilient, high-performing teams. That's what I do. That's really at the core of what I do, is I invest in people, and they're the ones who build it. And so all of you leaders out there, here's the problem. The majority of small businesses will never reach over $1 million in revenue. That's the reality. Only 9% are ever going to reach over $1 million. And the reason that you can't grow, the reason that you're not making the money, the reason you're not making the impact, the reason you have high turnover is because you won't get the hell out of the way and let your people take charge. That's the problem. We all know those lieutenants who wanted to control everything. It was like, guess my secret, and then didn't let the NCOs lead, and they would fail every time. But the good leaders, the good officers would trust their NCOs and empower them to accomplish the mission. And then we would do it. And that's exactly what we have to adopt as leaders. We have to accomplish the mission, which means we empower our people. We educate them on what needs to be done. Then we empower them with the tools, training, and authority to do it. This is a part that most people forget, is you got to give them the authority. And then you just come alongside and encourage them on that journey, asking them, hey, can I give you tools, training, or time to be successful?
Wow.
When we talk about leadership,
go ahead.
Sorry, when we talk about leadership, John Maxwell wrote a fantastic book. It's called The 5 Levels of Leadership. And if you're listening to this, you need to read this book, because I guarantee you're going to find yourself in level 3. If you're a leader and an entrepreneur, you're going to be in level 3, which is all about production. So level 1 is about position. You just have the position. This is like your senior lance corporal. They have a position, but maybe people like them, maybe they don't, and they don't have a lot of authority. Then you talk about permission. Now, this is going to be your senior lance corporal or your junior corporal that has the position, but people also like them, so they follow them, but really just because they like them, not necessarily because they know what the heck they're doing. The 3rd level, this is where the majority of entrepreneurs sit, and they can't get out of this spot, is called production. You've gotten really good at your business, but it's because you're the one cranking the wheel every day. And if you want to build a lifestyle business and just stay there, that's fine. Millions of people do that, and you can totally do that. But if you want to grow, you want to scale, you want to build, you want to create an empire, then you can't do that. You cannot be the one producing the results anymore. You have to now go to level 4, which is about people. How do you develop people? And this is a huge gap that people cannot get over. I see this.
It's a tough pivot.
It's almost impossible because nobody really teaches us how to do that. There are steps that you have to take, and I figured them out. I call them my Echo 3 leadership, where we educate, empower, and encourage our people. And those are the stepping stones that get us from production to people development. And I've had great success. I coach a couple hundred businesses a year, teaching them how to do this very same thing. It's something that anybody can apply, not just veterans. But here's the thing. You guys have an edge because you already understand how I think. And so this stuff is going to be second nature to you. It's going to be an aha moment like, oh man, I know this stuff already. He's not teaching me anything new. I'm just teaching you how to repurpose the stuff you learned in the military for civilian application.
Amen on that one. So, wow, you have dropped so much value on us. I keep on saying it, but it's the truth. And so I know I'm gonna ask you to come back with us, but let's finish off with this. Let's finish off on a strong note. And actually, I mean, I don't know how we finish off on a stronger note than we already have. I know. I was thinking about that, but
here's my brain going right now.
I know you were probably one of the and I hate to say this about my other guests that we've had on here, but you were definitely one of the most dynamic people that we've had on here. Just really,
he's the most dynamic person that I've ever been on here with before, besides you.
Well, you're the first. This is the first time he's been on here. In all fairness, but but let's finish this off with Sergeant Q, and just tell us a little bit about your actual military journey and what's the origin story?
Yeah, so I grew up in Northern California. I grew up literally in the middle of the drug trade. My parents were marijuana farmers, and I knew I didn't want that to be my life. It was just drugs and violence and running from the cops. And I grew up in the middle of that in Humboldt County, and my parents were part of pioneering that movement. So this is before it was legal. This is when it was super illegal back in the 80s and 90s. And so I wanted to get as far away from that as I could. I joined the Marine Corps, and man, that was quite a culture shock, but not for me. for everybody else that was in boot camp, because they had never had anybody screaming in their face before. They had never slept outside. They had never had to endure hardship. I grew up in hardship. So for me, I didn't see it as much of a struggle as some of the other guys did, just because my childhood was so rough and I grew up so rural that I was like, hey, you're feeding me 3 meals and I get a bed. Like, I'm good. This is great. It was difficult training, but I just didn't have that same culture shock like a lot of guys did. When I left left boot camp, I wanted to go into communications because it was flexible and I could really attach to any unit. In school, one of my instructors, his name was Sergeant Love, L-U-V, and he was an Anglico Marine doing his B billet, doing his teaching. And he noticed me and said, hey, you afraid of heights? I was like, no, I'm not afraid of heights. He's like, all right, Q, I'm going to have you meet with a couple guys and we're going to have lunch. And that was it. So I had lunch with these guys, talked to them, didn't think much about it. And then next thing I know, when I leave, I've got orders to go to Anglico. Didn't have any idea what Anglico was. Anglico is the Air Naval Gunfire Liaison Company. So as soon as I check in, it's like boot camp all over again. I was like, wait, what did I sign up for? What's happening? I thought this was over. I went right into what we call the ABC course, Anglico Basic Course. Now I'm learning call for fire. I'm learning how to plot targets. I'm learning land nav, which I was really good at dead reckoning. It's just an innate skill that God gave me. And so I was super good. I remember completing my land nav course like hours before everybody else. They thought I cheated, but God just gave me an internal compass that I can do dead reckoning, and it worked out great for me. And I really excelled in Anglico, became a master parachutist, close combat instructor, naval weapons survivor, or naval weapons security manager. So I did all of this really cool high-speed stuff in Anglico. I absolutely loved that unit. I got to work a lot with the Army, doing JRTCs with you guys, running out fours. We are the liaison. So we work with all militaries, the Korean Marines. Our area of expertise was the Korean Peninsula. So I had all kinds of cold weather survival training, and then I end up in the desert in Iraq. It's like, okay, not super prepared for this, but I did a ton of research. Yeah, I did a ton of research on the plane ride over about how because I know they don't have a lot of anti-air. So what are they using? These guys are literally using their artillery with an airburst shell to take out planes. Like, that's their plan. I was looking over, because I get to look at these plans, right? How Iraq was going to, their air defense were basically just bring our artillery straight up and fire it up into the air and hope we get something. That was their plan. I was like, okay, so I have to understand this so I can mitigate risk for aircraft, because I'm not looking for anti-air now. I have to be worried about artillery pieces trying to fire these giant rounds into the air. But coming back, I'm no war hero, man. I went over there and I just did my job, and I didn't get in a ton of mix-ups, And when I came back, I thought, man, that wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Here I've had all this high-speed training. I've done all this really cool stuff, and I thought it was going to be like the movies, and it wasn't. It was the majority of time being super bored, followed by 15 to 20 minutes of intense violence and chaos, and then right back to just being bored for hours, sometimes days at a time. It was the weirdest experience to go have those huge dichotomies like that. And I didn't realize how much that affected me until I got home and was struggling with mental health. And at that time, nobody was really talking about it.
Wow. I was thinking when you were talking about the call for fire, but this is actually a similar story for Luke as well. We were both enlisted 13 Foxes, which is forward observers. So I was thinking call for, we kind of, from an Army sense, we can really kind of relate to you in a sense. But anyways, I want to thank you, Sergeant Q, for joining us today. And he's got his 13 Fox hat on.
Who made
there.
This hat?
So Ryan, let me share with you. The original name for the app, when it was just for veterans, was Operation Pop Smoke.
Yeah,
that was
I
the
saw
original name, and the reason is because we use smoke on the battlefield all the time to mark targets, so I can direct the aircraft where to hit, because they can see the smoke, and and you guys know, you direct them from that smoke. And I can also
I've done it with A-10s. Yep.
Yeah, I can also use smoke to designate pop red smoke and designate where I want the helo to land to pick up our dead and wounded. And that was the idea behind the name of the app, was Operation Pop Smoke, was because of that, because of my background with Anglico.
Love
So
it.
Ryan, I don't know if we have time. If I could share one more
Go
thing
for it.
with you guys. Okay. So now I know a lot of you guys are listening to this and you're in business, you wanted to grow your business, you maybe want to start a business, so you're learning and trying to do research. The number one thing you need to be successful in business is don't quit. That's the number one thing. You don't have to be better than everybody else. You just have to outlast them. The number one reason my businesses fail is because the entrepreneur quits, because it gets hard and they struggle and they don't know what to do and they don't know where to turn. That's why you need a coach. That's why you need a mentor. That's why you need to go to seminars. That's why you need to learn how others have done it before you. But the number one thing you need is to not quit.
That's grit, baby. That's grit. And that takes mindset. And I love it. No, that is a way to end this off very strong. So I appreciate you, Sergeant Q, and also Luke for joining us. I wish we had more time. We're going to bring you back, Sergeant Q. If you'll have us, we're going to definitely have you back. But want to thank you.
Hey, we'll have to bring him to the Veteran Coaching Network, Ryan. He'll have to come in
100%.
to the Veteran Coaching Network. Absolutely.
All right, I'm kicking them off stage, but it's only because we're coming at a hard stop. No, but man, holy smokes! I'm going to tell you, Sergeant Q had put some smoke on the objective because I had no idea that he was about to blow my mind, and he did. Wow, this was something I was not expecting on this Saturday, which is when we're recording this thing. I'm just telling you, if you didn't get something out of this, then please unsubscribe to us, unfollow us, because you just got some value that people pay hard cash for. And I'm telling you, they do. And everything he said, I know for a fact works. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. I do have to self-promote the event for Veteran Social Summit again. It's on 12 and 13 September 2025. I do want to thank Parade Deck because they are going to be streaming the Vet Social 25 on Apple TV. So you'll just go to Apple TV if that's where you want to watch and download the Parade Deck app. You'll be able to watch it there on a big screen. I think it's still better. Personally, I would like to see it on my desktop or maybe on my phone, but you can watch it over there as well. It's going to be awesome. On 5 October at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Parade Deck is actually holding the Veteran Podcast Award. And somehow, because of you awesome people out there, we were nominated in 2 categories. And one is for Veteran Podcast in the category of Army, which is cool. And then the other one is for entrepreneurship and business. And we're in the top 3 for those 2 categories. So who knows? We might walk away winners of it. And the only reason we're winners is because of you. It takes the veteran community 100%. So on that note, I want to end off. And as I always say, start climbing higher.